I've been interviewing women from different countries and cultures, and I've learned a lot about how they cope with the changes and challenges of this stage of life. Is one thing that I've noticed that many women from around the world are afraid of HRT and prefer to use a natural path to manage their symptoms. But is this the best option for everyone? And why is there so much misinformation and confusion around HRT? To answer my questions, I decided to reach out to someone from the only country that seems to be leading the way when it comes down to perimenopause and menopause, and that, of course, is the UK. I'm so happy to introduce to you Louise Able, not only an expert, but the author of the book, How to Have a Healthy Menopause. This book is a great read for anyone who wants to understand what's happening in their body and mind during this transition. You can find the link to the book in the comments down below. In this video, Louise shares with us her experience going through perimenopause and also answers some of the most frequently asked questions about HRT, such as what it does, how it works, how much it costs in the UK versus how much it costs here in the US. And that is a shocking number. Also, she goes into how well doctors are now trained to prescribe HRT and to treat women. And since HRT is not for everyone for different reasons, you will also get a few tips on how to tweak your diet to manage your perimenopausal symptoms. This is Louise's social media information. As a woman going through perimenopause myself, I find it incredibly helpful to follow women who are ahead of the game, who know much more than I do, for me to reach out to them, to talk to them, and learn so much that I haven't learned yet. So, without further ado, here's Louise. You ready? Let's go, Badger.
Hi, so I'm Louise Able. I'm a health and wellness mentor, and I've been involved in the health and wellness world for, 15 years. And I've become a specialist in perimenopause and menopause now. And that came about because of my own experience. So that I do think there's nothing more profound than a woman's experience. That people who've been through something are the experts, in my opinion. I discovered that I'd been through quite a journey with my menopause, real highs and real lows. And I learned a lot. And I just really wanted to use that knowledge from what I'd learned and what I'd experienced to help other women. But at the time when I was looking for solutions to my problems, there was very little available. So I dug around with using the knowledge I already had and the experience I already had, learned a ton of stuff. And I just now want to share what I know and just to help other women, because I just don't want women to go through the kind of hell that some women are experiencing. You don't have to. And that's my message. I'm kind of on a mission, and it's a passion of mine now, just to help so other women don't suffer.
HRT was very popular in the 60s and a few decades after that, until in 2002, when the WHI published a study stating HRT carried serious risks. As of today, women are still very hesitant to use HRT because of that study.
And it's so sad because, bad press gets stuck in people's minds. And, once a bad story or an inaccurate story is put out into the world, it becomes the truth. But that story about HRT essentially being linked to breast cancer has stuck in women's heads. And it has stopped women seeking HRT for a long time. And I have to say, I was that woman as well. But that study has been 100% debunked now. It's not true. There are many, many other studies now to prove that the current type of HRT that is available is different to the combined pill that was available then. And the way that women receive HRT is very different. So it's a very different system of receiving it, and it's a very different formulation, shall we say. That said, that pill at the time has still been defunct, but we have moved on, the science has moved on, and what we have available to us now is very safe. go back to say 10, 15 years ago, I was adamant that I would not take HRT because I believed there was a risk factor with the breast cancer, because I believed those stories that had come out in the press. I also was completely focused on the fact that HRT was made from mares' urine in a very cruel way. It was once upon a time, but in that period of time, everything had changed. And HRT, that is not how HRT is made now. You know, the estrogen does not come from a horse's urine. It does not. You know, it's a naturally occurring product. I would encourage any woman listening to this to go online. In the UK, we have an amazing doctor called Dr. Louise Able. She's online, so she's available in every country in the world. So please Google her, because she is at the forefront of debunking the myths and telling the truth and showing all the medical evidence. She has done a lot of trials herself and with her team. You know, the UK, I think, definitely is ahead of many, many other countries in the science and the administration of HRT. In the UK, the common way of receiving HRT, the most common, is the estrogen. So the estrogen, which basically the estrogen we're receiving, we can have it in gel form, a pump gel, and that's rubbed on to the arms or to the inner thighs. And the great thing about having it in this form is it goes straight into the bloodstream and it doesn't have to go via the liver. So it goes straight into the bloodstream and it goes straight to the estrogen receptors. There's also patches. So it's the same formulation, but it's in a patch. So some ladies might forget, it's not part of their routine to rub a lotion into their bodies in a morning or evening. So the patches just get popped on like the hip or somewhere like that, and they stay on for about 4 or 5 days. And then in the evening, well, depending where you are in the cycle, for perimenopausal women, they will be advised to take it at certain times to do with their cycle. Postmenopausal women just take it every night. There's a tablet form of progesterone. So you do need the both, but the progesterone is made from organic yams, which is interesting. I know that's definitely made from organic yams. So nothing unnatural and completely in tune with our bodies. So we're just replacing lost hormones at the end of the day. There are risks with everything, you know. There are risks with putting heavy chemically formulated makeup on our skin. There are risks with using hair dye, you know. And I think what we as women have to weigh up with ourselves, we have to do our own, we have to be mature and knowledgeable and do our own risk balance. There is a very tiny risk of breast cancer forming, infinitesimal. But if you are really, really struggling with the mental health side of perimenopause and you are feeling suicidal, you know, if you weigh up on balance that, you know, there are a few little health risks that are tiny versus your risk to yourself of being suicidal, then, you know, that's, in my view, that risk is worth taking, the risk of the 0.00% breast cancer link. It's not risk free, but it's a very small risk, and it's a case of making your own mature decision after talking to your medical practitioner if it's worth it for you. Every woman I know in the UK has the patches and the gel separate. They're not combined, so the estrogen and the progesterone are separate. And you've also got the third hormone, which is testosterone, which is very that one's not talked about very often. And in the UK, we have the National Health Service where we can get our HRT, not always free, but for a very, very low price. The testosterone in the UK, which is the place I obviously know most about, that little third hormone is not available to us, and you have to go privately for that. So there's a lot of work. There's work for us to do still in the UK to get that more widely available. You can get it. It's not much discussed, but for some women, it's the final piece in the hormone jigsaw. So, you know, some of us need it, some of us don't need it. And you will only know if you need it by starting on the estrogen and the progesterone. And if you're still not feeling quite 100%, then you would have to look at just having a small amount of testosterone. The government have just released a payment system where we can get, for one payment, we can get 3 months worth of HRT for as little as something like £10 or something. So it's it's two things. It's very, very cheap for companies to produce. It's very, very cheap for the NHS to buy it. It's very, very, therefore very cheap for us as women to be able to access it. So in countries, all I would say is I don't know how it works everywhere, but in countries where women may be denied HRT because they are told it's an expensive product, it isn't. Because if it isn't expensive in the UK, it's not going to be expensive in the States or anywhere. It's just not an expensive product. And what happened with us in the UK is the medical profession lied to us, and a lot of women were told that they couldn't have HRT because it was an expensive product, and it's not. And that was a lot of the fight. That the people on the front line of bringing knowledge of HRT to normal women's lives. That was a lot of the message is go to your GP, go to your general practitioner, as we call them here. And if they say, no, you can't have it because it's expensive, you can say, absolutely not, I know. And Dr. Louise Newson is fantastic. If you go to her website, she has documents that you can download that you can arm yourself with to go to your medical practitioner, and that's free to anybody in any country. So if you're going to your medical practitioner and you really want HRT, you really feel you're ready for it, you have all the symptoms, and your life, you know, every woman knows when they're not feeling their full 100% self. So, but you go there and they say no for whatever reason. She has a series of amazing documents that you can go there with, download, print off, go there with, and say, actually, this is the medical science, this is the truth, this is the medical science. I would urge anyone to go to that website and print that off if they want to go and ask for HRT, they've been refused or they're nervous of, which happens, it happens a lot for lots of reasons. I was refused HRT 3 times before I finally found somebody who was willing to give it to me, and my life is changed completely by having that. There is a list as long as both of my arms, I think, that women have told me why they've been denied HRT. And my first perimenopausal symptoms were very bad joint and muscle pain, tick, very common. Very bad stomach pains, tick, very common. But agony, like childbirth pains. and that was it, actually. But I knew my body, I knew there was something wrong. I went to my doctor's. He offered me painkillers, antacids for the stomach. And when I was quite upset by that. I was quite, and I started to cry a bit because I was, emotional as well, as we are. And then he offered me Prozac, antidepressants. So that was my first experience, and that's a lot of women's first experience. I was very obviously presenting myself with perimenopausal symptoms to that doctor. At no point did he say, oh, hang on a minute, you're 45. Those symptoms that you're talking about are very common perimenopause symptoms. How about HRT? All he saw was a woman who was crying and offered me antidepressants. Very common, very, very common. Depression can be a perimenopausal symptom. I do understand that. But for most women, it's not. And it's very easy for the medical profession just to say, here you go, have some antidepressants. And what happens then is the antidepressants do not solve the rest of your problems, because the problems that you've got are to do with estrogen deficiency. They will only be solved by replacing the diminishing estrogen in your body. The second time I went, I had developed high blood pressure, always had low blood pressure. Now I know, and I didn't then, that heart palpitations and high blood pressure are two other symptoms of perimenopause. I kept going back to the doctors for about 2 years with these symptoms. At no point did they say, oh, hang on, this could be menopause. These are common symptoms of menopause. I actually ended up in A&E because my blood pressure became so high. But I was prescribed blood pressure tablets, which I took because I was scared because my blood pressure was so high. And then on the third time I went to the doctors and asked for HRT, by then I'd become more empowered. I'd read up more and more about all that. I was like, these are all my symptoms. These symptoms are all perimenopause symptoms. So I went marching back, fully armed, and I had a very, very old man. And this very, very old man just dismissed me like I was a kindergarten child. So humiliating. And this is a lot of women's experience. Absolutely humiliated me. Got his phone out, rolled up the phone, and just said, you're too old. And I was like, too old for what? He said, too old for HRT, just too old for life. Basically, off you go and just give in. So rude, so humiliating. So in the end, I complained about him and got to see an amazing woman who took my blood pressure. I had to do extra tests. And in the end, she said, you know what, there's no reason why you can't have HRT. Absolutely none. And from that day, she followed me. She started small, a little bit at a time. I didn't go rushing in. I just had a tiny amount of estrogen and I built up, and then, and here I am now, absolutely changed, back to my normal self. What was happening in the UK for a long time is our practitioners were not educated in HRT or menopausal women. I think in their general training, they had something like 3 hours worth. Now, bearing in mind that half of the world are going through this, every single woman is going through this. It's the medical profession is a patriarchal system, so it should probably not surprise us that so little attention has been given to this. But anyway, we are where we are, and we are where we are by women shouting from the rooftops that this is not acceptable anymore, and doing what we're doing and sharing information of our experiences. Now in the UK, they've all had retraining, amazingly, because of the pressure from some celebrities and some women speaking. So they know now. You may start just feeling different, feeling anxious or the hot flushes. But every woman's symptoms are going to be different. But if you feel anxious or depressed or sweating or pains or brain fog, just go straight away. I would urge you to go. It's not too early. Evidence of perimenopause of starting is what you're experiencing. And the general practitioner just has to listen to that woman and listen to her symptoms, believe her, and then if she wants HRT, offer that. Whereas the system before was like you had to present yourself with certain symptoms, and then you'd have some blood tests. I promise you, ladies who are listening in, you can save yourself years of struggle by getting that estrogen topped back into your body as soon as you can, really, because we expect so much more of ourselves these days. We still want to work, in our 40s and 50s and 60s, which I'm approaching scarily, but we still have lots to give. We're not ready to retire and lie down. But if we haven't got that estrogen, that youthful hormone that's feeding our brains and feeding our joints and our hair, it's feeding everything. There's estrogen receptors all over our body. If that's gone, we are going to feel wrong and old. Estrogen is the thing that we tend to focus on because it's the decreasing in estrogen that really is causing all these symptoms and what have you. But yeah, you do need the progesterone to balance everything out. It's really important to make sure that you do take the progesterone as well. Yeah, no, that's really scary what you're saying there about people so afraid of the cancer risk and the insurance situation, because I would just urge women to go online and search in the right places. There is so much evidence now that the cancer risks are minimal. We're very fortunate in the UK that all comes free because we have our wonderful NHS. It's a really interesting dilemma. I do understand that you have in the States, but all I could say is is from the UK perspective, and we are that little bit further on, I think, definitely. You know, do your research, and obviously if you do your research and you come to the conclusion that you feel that there is a much bigger cancer risk with taking HRT than a much bigger risk with taking all the other medication that you're taking, then that's your decision. That you know, you have to make your informed decision yourself. But you know, all the research is out there now that the link with cancer is very, very small. If women can't take HRT or don't want to, obviously, but yeah, certainly for those women who can't take it, I don't want those women to be really afraid, because I know on this interview I've been really selling HRT, but I just want to say that there are other ways, and there are great ways that you can manage your hormones. So just look, but I would say to those women, please reach out to a professional. If you're not offered help by your medical person, which quite often is, you know, it's literally like, sorry, you can't take HRT, but then there's no, you know, join the Menowave group, reach out to professionals like myself. There are lots of women, search them out, mostly women who can advise you on nutrition and what to eat, when to eat, exercise, supplements. There are things that you can do, that you can take control of. And even just simple things that people don't realize, that, you know, for breakfast, when you start your day, eat a protein and a good fat together. And that little combination starts balancing your hormones right at the get-go of the day. So there's loads of little things like that that really, really, really can help you. So all is not lost. You know, I know I'm a huge advocate of it, but all is not lost. There is lots you can do. Stage of our life, you know, we should, number one, absolutely cut out processed food, ultra processed food, without question. Absolutely everything. 100% cut out vegetable and seed oils, the sort of oils that are extracted at high temperatures. They are dangerous for us to eat. We should be eating olive oil and avocado oil. We should be eating protein. Good quality protein. We should be eating good quality fats. We should be eating fresh whole food. I mean, I know that sounds like basic. To me, it sounds like basic common sense, but it's absolutely profound that the removal of ultra processed foods, fried foods, sugary, you know, the sugary processed, chemical laden foods that have a list of ingredients that are about that deep on the back of the packet, anything in a packet, they should be literally just gone, replaced with natural whole foods that you cook yourself. And every woman and man will see a massive difference in their overall brain fog, their gut health. Because if your gut health is absolutely on top form, the gut attaches to the brain. There is a big nerve that goes from the gut to the brain and up and down, the vagus nerve, and they're sending signals to each other all the time. And so if your gut is in tip-top condition, then your brain will be too, and the rest of your body will go from there. So the ultra processed food is killing our mitochondria. It's killing our good gut bacteria. It's killing our brain cells. So yeah, I mean, that's advice, the place to start. And then look after your gut, eat fermented foods every day, eat good quality protein, eat lots of greens, eat yogurt and sauerkraut and kimchi and all of those really amazing foods, lots of avocados, and yeah, I cut down on alcohol. I mean, nobody really, I know lots of people like a drink, but alcohol is nobody's friend, whether you have any illness or it really damages the hormones as well. You know, if you get the right information, if you get the right help, if you seek it out, there are people like myself here to help you.